Welcome to the Rainmaker Podcast, where we elevate marketing leaders inside and out. I'm your host, Veronica Rami, master marketer, executive leader, and mentor to ambitious marketing leaders wanting to advance their careers. Each episode is filled with genuine, unscripted conversations with some of the world's top marketing experts, accomplished leaders, and industry trailblazers representing brands, both large and small. Our goal with this podcast and everything we do is to help you master your role, nurture your team, prioritize your well-being, and evolve into an industry-leading rainmaker. This is the Rainmaker Podcast. In this podcast episode, I am honored to introduce to you easily one of the most badass CMOs with the most career advancements I have ever seen over the span of 40 years in the marketing game. Our esteemed guest, Kim Feil, is currently the Chief Marketing and Strategy Officer of a company called Aspire Brands, but she has served as a marketing leader for some of the biggest consumer brands in the world that you know, like Walgreens, OfficeMax, Cadbury, and Sara Lee. I'm pretty sure I asked her to adopt me as soon as we finished recording, and that's not an exaggeration. Kim and I discussed her non-linear career path in marketing, how you should never ever chase title, pay, and prestige, her what, how, and why formula to articulating your value in an interview, and landing a dream job that the recruiter said there was no way she'd ever get. Let's dive right in and make it rain with Kim Feil. Kim, welcome to the Rainmaker Podcast.
Hey, Veronica, I'm so honored to be included. I never knew I was a rainmaker.
Oh, you are. If there was ever a rainmaker on paper, okay, it's you.
Thank you.
Okay, let me just set up the conversation because everyone, after they finish listening to us, they're going to run off to your LinkedIn and see what I'm about to describe. But you are literally the definition of marketing leader advancement. Like your LinkedIn, your 40 years of marketing brilliance and career and just trailblazing, you never stayed stagnant. You were, just looking at your resume, you were at some of the biggest companies in the world, and not just like one big company that everybody knows. No. We're hopping to another big one and another big one, and you're on a board and venture and entrepreneurship and marketing. And for a variety of client types, which is also striking to me as well, because like, sometimes as marketers, we pigeonhole ourselves in one particular vertical, but like your variety, your diversification, your corresponding advancement is something that every single marketer who's listening to this should pay very close attention to this conversation.
Well, there is a method to the madness. You might think it's like bumping around all over the place, but my dad was 38 years with Procter & Gamble.
Wow.
So I vividly remember as an 8-year-old him taking me to see the world's largest Tide display. And I can't say that at that moment made me want to be a consumer packaged goods marketer, but that really was from my childhood kind of part of my life. And so all the things that you see in my background actually come together around the consumer packaged goods industry because I've worked for manufacturers like Cadbury Schweppes, Dr. Pepper, 7-Up, Frito-Lay. I've worked for retailers, so Walgreens and OfficeMax, and I've worked as a consultant when I was head of marketing at Information Resources, Inc., which is now called Circana. So I got to see all sides of one industry really deeply.
Sure.
And then I was also fortunate to sit on a number, as you said, of nonprofit and private and public boards that had affiliated areas that were really intriguing to me. Like Roundy's, which is a grocery retailer who is in the Chicagoland area, is a logical part of the consumer packaged goods industry. And then retail tech was an area of intrigue for me. So Power Reviews and some of those. So, there's a logic. It was really more my curiosity that drove me into all these different things. And I've been blessed enough over these years to be asked to participate in a lot of those businesses. And it's been a great experience.
Well, and I think I find that a lot with marketers as a whole. Like we are these creative geniuses. We marketers are both art and science. And we're also, in spite of the challenges and difficulties, and, we are also wildly ambitious humans.
That's true.
Like every time I get on a call with a prospective rainmaker, they tell me that they want their desire of earnings and salaries 2 to 3 times what they're currently making. I'm like, oh, we're not just doubling, like tripling. Like these are ambitious humans. I think your story also shows a touch of ambition. Does this also come from your father? I'm curious, like, who made you this way?
Interesting. I would describe it as being German and just working really hard is kind of how
Okay.
I see it. I would never have it use the word ambition with me. It really
Mm-hmm.
was more, I used to joke, it's like everything I get involved in, people want me to lead it. And I keep wondering about that. It's like, why do I always have to lead it? I like following
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that sounds a little bit boastful, maybe, but I think it's more just that striving to get things to be sort of the next better thing and making things
Yeah.
stronger, making things better. So every company I've also worked with has had some aspect of transformation or
Mm-hmm.
been in a very unique growth period. And I so enjoy taking things that need to be either fixed or put on another path or grown that even in my personal life, I've renovated 8 homes. I tore my own house down and rebuilt my dream house on the same lot because I just love to get in there, and get
Mm-hmm.
the engine open and dig around. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's been more that than anything, Veronica, is that I tend to go all in.
You
And
do.
when you go all in, I guess you can call that ambition, but it was never really about title or money. It was much
Okay.
more about really falling in love with a brand, wanting it to be its best, or falling in love, like with Walgreens at the healthcare
Mm-hmm.
intersection within
Mm-hmm.
5 miles of 80% of America. It's
Yeah.
like we can make this a real health destination. So it's just having that passion to see it get to a really strong place. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, I will admit that in the course of that, it's brought with it, title and
It does.
opportunities. And,
Yep.
I very much have always looked, though, for that learning curve, that next thing that
Mm-hmm.
really helps me stretch.
Yeah, you like the challenge. I'm with you though, because I find that people that chase for title and status and pay really end up just like banging their heads on the wall. But somebody that pursues self improvement and challenge and personal development and professional development and like you said, aligning themselves with companies, brands, clients that are in congruency with their personal values,
Right.
title and pay always comes. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like the net effect, but they're not charging towards that. They're charging to be better and to leave the world better. And then this beautiful net effect is that they also have the money that like celebrates
Right.
that sincerity and that integrity, right? So I love that. I love that you articulated that for you because, some people are also unapologetic about their ambition. I want this and I want this but to be in the game for 40 bloody years, you got to have something more than just title and money,
That's true. Well,
right?
I'd love to tell you a little story that builds on what we're talking
Please.
about here, which is, I had been fortunate enough to be in many, many great roles over the years.
Mhm.
And my last sort of big public company role was leading marketing for OfficeMax. And it was during the period of time when we were merging OfficeMax and Office Depot, which
Yeah.
was a crazy experience. I even
Yeah.
got to testify to the FTC
Yep.
on Capitol Hill. But after we finished the merger and it was determined that the company was moving to Florida, and I decided I didn't
Mhm.
want to do that, I actually took a step and I said, I want to do something completely different for the next 10 years. I really
Mhm.
want to look into being more of an entrepreneur and digging into the non
Mhm.
public company world where I've spent
Mhm.
most of my career. So I won't bore you with the backstory on how I got there, but I ended up meeting the founder of this brand, this Aspire Healthy Energy Drinks brand.
Mhm.
And they didn't know I had spent 9 years of my career with Cadbury and Dr. Pepper 7 Up.
Sure.
At the time, they were actually trying to get into the grocery retailer I was on the board of. And so I got interested in the brand. I fell in love with the brand. I started investing in the brand. So back to your point of having the resources to do what you want to do, I was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to invest in this. I believe in it. So
Yeah.
I started investing. I joined the board of it. And about 5 years ago, I said, to heck with it. I'm just going to join them full time all the time. So I'm chief
Wow.
marketing and strategy officer of this early stage company.
Yeah.
And I'm now the second largest owner of it as well.
Sure.
So it's become something that is an entirely different look at the CPG world, this time from the foundation of being an owner investor in an early
Yeah.
stage brand. And, a lot of my friends said, how could you step off the big public company thing at that moment when you could have had any job you wanted? I said,
Sure.
I do have the job I want. This has given me a learning curve of venture and private equity and all these amazing early stage brands out there that are the future of consumer goods. And so I definitely have ongoing next learning curve in this space. And my dream after this is that hopefully we have, a good outcome for the brand to the point I can invest in other women entrepreneurs because they do not.
I'm here for it.
Yes, you are.
I am here for it.
Women
Speaking the
entrepreneurs
language.
are not getting the investment dollars that the men are.
Well,
So
not women.
big
Nope.
opportunity, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyhow, I see 10 more years of another 10 careers, and you're right.
Sure.
We keep moving when we find the things that really motivate us.
Well, let's talk about that because I feel like, and I call them in between marketers. I get personally asked a ton by friends and colleagues in the industry. How did I personally know when to stay, when to go? You also, I think, I mean, clearly, like you've worked at a number of different stops on the journey of your career. And so if we can dive into that methodology, if we can dive into the things that you learned to do when jumping or bumping up and the things that you should not do, what can you impart to us?
Yeah,
Marketers that are aspiring for more.
right. Well, let me start with the basic, which is that no moves are linear, right? No moves
Yeah.
are linear.
Oh my
They
gosh.
they can
Amen.
involve unexpected, barricade in your way. They can become amazing openings like meeting these guys about Aspire, right? So I'll tell you that two of the changes were not instigated by me. They were instigated by very, very tough cultural environments, one of which I was the only woman in an environment of men who felt a bit threatened by having me around. And I say it in that as gentle as possible way, but
Sure.
they were doing some things that were culturally and ethically incorrect.
Mhm.
And I was challenging them on that. They didn't like that, and they managed to push me out of my role. In another case, there was a new boss who decided he wanted somebody else for my role, didn't know it was illegal just to let me go. And so he eliminated the job for a year and a day before he put his person in
Oh, come on.
yeah, instead of having a discussion with me, right?
Yeah,
So those
right.
are the bad ones, but those make you stronger. You learn a
Sure.
lot. And so what I would say is the ones that I have made that I had the realization to make on my own when I was ready were the
Mhm.
ones where I wasn't learning anymore,
Mm.
where I felt that I had gotten to a place where I was really contributing and I felt great about that, but I felt that I was ready for another dimension of this consumer goods world. So in the case of IRI, I had an amazing group of people I worked with who I adored. The company went through several changes that were very positive professional experiences. But it ultimately got to a point where I felt that I really wanted to go back to manufacturer side. I had been serving clients, and frankly, clients don't listen to consultants ever. They and I was like, I'm tired of them not listening. I want to go do it again, right? So
Mhm.
that's when I had the opportunity to go to Kimberly-Clark. So that was one where I just felt it. I just felt like I was ready to make a re-shift
Mhm.
back to
Mhm.
manufacturing. The Walgreens opportunity was all around healthcare passion. The summer before I took the Walgreens job, I went through a breast cancer scare.
Okay.
And one of my very good friends also died of cancer.
Yeah.
And I just decided I wanted to do something that had a healthcare approach that I could be part of. And
Yeah.
so that for me was a step toward healthcare for everybody, right? Right on the corner of happy and healthy.
Yeah.
And it was driven by a very different drive than I had ever experienced before. So there are no linear ways, and each thing can really be brought on by both professional expectations as well as personal ones, as I had in the case of Walgreens.
Well, I have a question for you because it's like a tale as old as time. I too have been the recipient of incredible work cultures and founders and have been incredibly valued and appreciated. And the affirmation was spoken out loud. And then also, because this is opposition all things, I was also a part of environments where it was, toxic is putting it lightly. And there was direct sabotage or some crazy things that we won't get into just for this, but like it's a tale as old as time,
Yeah,
where I think everybody will have an example. Hopefully, we'll have examples of both the good and the bad
exactly.
throughout your career. Hey Rainmakers, it's Veronica, and we'll get back to today's episode. But before that, I have an exciting invitation for all of you aspiring, ambitious marketing leaders. If you are serious about advancing your career in marketing and you're looking for an expert to give you some personal insights, guidance, tips, then I'm going to invite you to schedule a free Pathway to Promotion call with me. This is a special one-on-one call with just you and me to discuss your current roadblocks in your career, your long-term aspirations and ambition, and the next best step for you and your personal promotion. Head to pathwaycall.com or click the link in my show notes to schedule your free Pathway to Promotion call. Now back to today's episode. I'm Cuban, you're German. So like my stock is strong. And I, as the eldest daughter, have come out of the womb this way. However, it was in those darker moments of my career where it was very humbling and tears were shed and doubts plagued and things of that nature. How did you get through? I would imagine that you had your moments, the shadows. How did you get back on the horse? Because a lot of it is the mind gremlins that start to come in and get louder and louder.
Right. Well, two ways, and neither of them were from me changing myself, unfortunately. One was that I've been involved in this group called Next Up for
Okay.
20 years. It was formerly called Network of Executive Women. It's a group of consumer packaged goods women who pull together to help attract, retain, develop, and advance women. I had so many very good friends who were also extremely accomplished executives reach out to me immediately and say, look, here's why I value you. Here's what I think you are about. Here's why you should not feel down because
Wow.
look at what I believe in with you. And having those women lift me up like that was
Wow.
all by itself just a real, it helped me shake my blues. Let's put it that way. But the other thing that I have learned, Veronica, now going into this 40th year of my career, of all the things you do, of all the cool programs and all the return on assets and all the things you accomplish, the number one most valuable thing in your career is your reputation.
Ooh.
Your reputation will always, always float above any of those tough times. And so the day after the second incident happened, I literally had the presidents of 3 companies call me and go, what the was that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it made me feel like, first I wanted to kind of say, oh my God, you're going to think I did something or it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, no way. Are you kidding me? They're nuts. And so over the years, I have been astounded that even people I don't talk to for 10 years, if I reach out and say, can you help me with this? Can you answer this question? I know you know someone who knows this, and will you help me? They do, like right away. And it's, I believe very much about the fact I've always been transparent. I've always been kind. I've
Yeah.
always been thoughtful. Yes, I can be tough. We have to be good business people, but I've never been unfair. And so I think people do always remember those who have tried to be the best people they can be and also achieve good results. And that reputational value is the most important thing you get out of your career that will take you through all the hard times.
Anything, literally anything. Yeah. It's your number one asset. It's
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
It's you. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. It's you.
Right.
But your story of also the women, God, like I'm not an animal expert here, but what I know is in nature, it's called the elephant circle. So,
Yeah.
like when an elephant is in distress or compromised or giving birth or sick, the
Mhm.
other female elephants will circle the elephant and put her in the center. And then they basically back themselves to her and then face the world out to protect her.
I love that. Yeah.
And like as soon as you were telling that story, I had this kind of visualization because I mean, truthfully, this is what I try desperately to do within the walls of my own programs is like, how do I create a circle of elephants around these marketers who are doing daring, bold things, who have mind gremlins or have villains to their narratives, and not have them burn out, churn out, turn out, and quit,
Mm-hmm.
and have a beautiful 40-year career, because we need marketers need marketers, is my
Right.
personal belief.
Well,
Yeah.
and I have to say, both women and men go through the times that we're talking
Sure.
about, but women are harder on themselves,
Oh,
so
yeah.
much more so. And it's very hard for me to sit down. I have friends who say, write down all the things you think you're great at and all the things you think you're not great at. And why is it that my not great list is always longer? Why is that? We
Always.
do it to ourselves all the
Yeah.
time. And so, I mean, it is, maybe a little in our nature to be a little more humble, a little more
Mm-hmm.
self-deprecating, a little bit less
Mm-hmm.
about, well, I did this. It's the team, and it is always the team, but there is definitely a place for, when you go through tough times, for making the list of the things you feel great about yourself, because they are there and they are
Mm-hmm.
strong. And those are the things you have to put your mind to get through those tougher times. And
100.
having that posse, my gal posse of
Yeah.
other women who have been through the same things and can help you, it's really key. It really is.
Yeah, empathy is everything too. Like, when people can empathize with our articulate, our acute pain,
Right.
like breast cancer survivors with breast
Right.
cancer, you know what I mean? Like, there's something really, really powerful about that. Okay, I have another question for you, and this is more like a selfish question, but it's like, one thing that strikes me, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is that in all of your bumps, jumps, hops, skips, and away in your career, there comes a point where you have to master the skill of articulating your own worth, because
Yes.
no one's going to articulate your worth as well as you can for
Right.
yourself. Not to say that people can't vouch for you
Well,
and talk the good graces of you to another and help you, but at some point you're in the interview, you're in the meeting, you're in front of the person that you have to now articulate your own asset and your own value. How did you learn how to do that? What are your tips? Because this is not that, again, men don't struggle with this, but I think women, and this is, I'm going to use their words, sometimes find the articulation of self as a form of prostitution. It feels
uh,
uncomfortable.
and that's such a shame. And marketers should know how to talk about their
I
brand
know.
better than anybody, right?
Yeah.
So that's a very good question. And the best way I would answer it is this: I believe that every leader, every marketer, every woman or man has a what they've done and a how they've done it
Mm-hmm.
element to the way they express or should express their worth. And the what shouldn't be your resume of every single thing you ever have done. It should be the summary, two or three things. And I told you two of mine today. One, I've been
Mm-hmm.
in the whole circle of 360 with CPG, and I followed my dream to entrepreneurship, right?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
And so the what underneath that, I could list a million programs and everything else, but keeping it at that strong couple things that are really what you professionally have done as the what, but the how matters too.
Mm.
And the how is not soft, even though sometimes I think people in an interview think, if I say that I'm a great leader, that sounds so squishy. Well, give examples of how you're a great leader, and give an example of how you cultivate diversity.
Mm.
Give an example of how you lead in tough times. Give an
Mm.
example of how the worst possible thing, you bring it up yourself, that you ever had to do to get, to lead a team. So
Sure.
it's like two or three things on the what and two or three things on the how that are what you're all about. So I've always been about transformation. I've always been about building diverse teams. It's like, and then examples, though, they have to be tangible. And in the end, the other thing that I never see or rarely see candidates do is tell me why I should hire them. What is it that you're going to do for my company? So it's the what and the how, and then it's, now let me tell you what I see that I believe I could bring and how that could work. And what's interesting is I was told by my recruiter I would never get the Walgreens job because
Oh, jeez.
I had never been in retail.
Okay.
Well, what he didn't understand is that I had this vision for really making healthcare more consumer oriented And I had my own story that I already shared with you. And I ended up discovering that Walgreens did not have a really very good description of what they wanted this job to be about. So I actually went through my first interviews, just like a first date. You want a second date, right?
Yep.
But by the second date, I brought the framework. I brought it to them and I showed it on one page. I said, based on all the people I talked to, based on all the consumers and the stores I visited and the store managers I talked to, here's what I think this could do for you. And it got me the job. So,
well, are you kidding me? When a visionary is confronted with somebody who's going to also offer up vision, it's like a relief.
yes.
Like, yes. Because I believe that ideas that are self-generated are given birth in the world. I could literally hand my clients on a silver platter the best counsel, advice, consulting on platinum. It's a platinum platter. And it will never take life in the real world like a self-generated, self-birthed idea.
Right.
And so when visionaries are offered up great, like you can tell the conviction and the passion of another visionary in the room who also has the receipts to show that I don't just dream big,
Right.
I can execute better. Oh, like you're just salivating. You're like, I will marry you right now in Vegas. Like, forget the third date.
Yeah, this is true.
And that's what you did. And you did it with, like, again, your candor, your conviction, your level of confidence, shoulders back. I got this, even in the face of being told I shouldn't have this compared to other candidates. It's like, I'll take you on a date like this.
It was pretty funny because the recruiter called me the next day. He goes, I don't know what you told him, but
that's so funny. Okay. I literally could talk to you for you're my new hero for sure. I could talk to you forever. One thing that we do to close out every episode is where the tables get turned, because I've asked you a whole bunch of unscripted conversation and questions. You get to ask me the final question.
All right.
Anything you'd like to ask me? Oh, now I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous. You've got me nervous for this 30 minutes. It may be a question you're not expecting, but I looked, obviously your history as this amazing entrepreneur, and many, many, many jobs you've had have always been giving out to women, to helping leaders, help people. You give and you give and you give. How do you regenerate your energy? How do you get back? What do you do to be able to have that same wonderful gift come back to you?
Ooh, that's talking about female problems, I just went through this practice this past week of how does it feel in your body to tell somebody no? And how does it feel in your body to be told no? But the same could be reversed. How does it feel to give love and words of affirmation versus how good are you to receive? Right. So I just went through this practice this last week in a female group in Arizona. But it's a solid question because I'm a very service-oriented leader. I'm also, my personal love language is words of affirmation. So it's not difficult for me to meet somebody and just love them hard or affirm them hard. You know what I mean? Just to really, in a radical candor type of way, just build somebody up. I would be lying to you if I said I was equally great at receiving it. I too have the imposter syndrome or the mind gremlins that will come in and I will receive a compliment and then I'll always add the asterisk with the small legal print at the bottom. Yeah, but you don't know this. Yeah.
Yep.
My husband's much better at it. He got into personal development before I did. He was doing the Dale Carnegie stuff and the Brendan Bouchard podcast and this, and he would offer it to me. I'm like, no, I don't need that voodoo stuff. And now, my supplements drawer, I keep adding and adding and adding to personal development and seeking out mentors and specialists. I have, full disclosure, I have an IFS therapist, which is internal family systems. So it's literally the practice of conversing with my own parts. So warrior Veronica conversing with soft, tender Veronica, 12-year-old Veronica versus 36-year-old fully realized Veronica. And I do this not because I actually need therapy, because I want to be so strong within my own world that I can face the actual world.
Yeah.
And so I will give myself some credit to be constantly seeking out specialists and mentors who can help me love me.
Well, that's good. And you deserve a lot of love, Veronica. I mean, I think you're just doing amazing things for everybody here. And, I hope you do get back for all this, because I'll give you a hug right now.
Squeeze. Okay, Kim. I'm obsessed with you. We will put all of your links, your company links, your LinkedIn. Everybody will come and hang out with you, and all the links that we provide in the show notes. But I just have to say thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast.
It's been wonderful. Thank you. I've been honored.
Thank you for joining us on today's Rainmaker podcast. Marketers help other marketers. So if there's a marketer in your life who could really use a new perspective in a way that helps them advance their career, please pass this episode forward, share, leave us a review. Everything helps as we embark on helping as many marketers elevate themselves inside and out. You can always visit veronicarami.com for today's show notes, additional links to some free resources and tools for you to help you advance your career. You can always connect with us on social media at @ViaRami if you want more behind the scenes or a way for us to connect personally. Until next time, my friends, make it rain.